Thank you, everyone, for being here today. We have a special guest, Heather Petherick. She's from that northern country called Canada. I think they're finally defrosting up there.
Only recently.
Megan and I have known Heather for a while now.
Years.
Very
Quite
much
a few
so,
years. Yeah.
And, from getting to know people and watching them evolve in their life and their business has been a true fun thing to be a part of and experience and help you do that. So can you give us a background of like some personal information, then into your business and how you got started and why you picked the certain niche of people you work with?
Okay, awesome. So it is true. I come from that northern country called Canada, and it is now middle of June. And yes, we are just recently defrosting. Things are above zero, and we've gotten rid of our long underwear and fuzzy socks, and we're wearing shorts now and short sleeves. So my name's Heather Petherick, and I've been a business and success coach for it's been over 12 years. But when I started in coaching as a career coach for female, really high ambitious and well-educated females that had gotten off on the wrong track in their career, headed down the wrong path. Years ago, I helped them figure out what the right path was, and that slowly and organically morphed in and away from career coaching to more of what my specialty is now, which is supporting female business leaders who are pointing the way for their organization or their team. Some of them are corporate leaders inside of really impressive Fortune 500 companies, and others are the leaders of their own online empires. But in many ways, I act as certainly their business coach, but I also, I think of myself quite casually as their business therapist, because a lot of what we talk about is for sure nuts and bolts, but it's also the mindset, the behaviors, the fears, and the programming that underlies all of the success. And you got to get that figured out before it's going to show up on the balance sheet. So that's a little bit of what I do professionally. Personally, I've got 2 kids, 13 and 15. Even I can't friggin' believe that anymore. Married for 18 years to the biggest introvert and the biggest fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs. He is a long-suffering man, which bodes well for him being married to me. So that's us.
Good balance. You got to have that,
Gotta have the
That's what we do here too. So did you ever see yourself when you were younger in I wouldn't say coaching, but it isn't, more of like a teaching and helping people out type role as you were growing up? And then just led to this type of thing where you're like, you know what? People need my help. I got to help. I can't watch this anymore.
Yeah, I would like to say, Shawn, that there was this beautiful and methodical plan. But
it's never that way.
It was never like that for me. In fact, if you really want to go back in the long, way back, I was so off track. I got an ag degree, and I thought I was going to work in the agriculture sector. Because I thought, hey, great job security, and they need smart women, right? Well, they still do, but it was not my cup of tea, as they say. I learned through a series of failures that I was not meant for agribusiness, but I was truly meant for something more humanistic. And I really always gravitated towards having really meaty conversations with people. And so what is coaching? Is having really meaty conversations with people where we, park our egos on the side, and we get to, whatever the challenges are. So funny story, when I was really little, two things stand out. So I grew up on a farm. That's where the agriculture thing comes back. And so I had to make my own friends. We lived at the end of a dead end road on the banks of an irrigation reservoir, which is a really unglamorous body of water. But to have something fun to do, I would go out to the water's edge, and there was this big rock that was about 10 feet off with this very shallow body of water. I would wade out there with my rubber boots, and I would stand on this rock, and it was like my pulpit, and I would have these amazing profound conversations at 6, 7, 8 years old, and talk to the birds and the fish. And that was maybe one early clue. That, and I was a big fan. Children of the late 70s and early 80s will know I was a big fan of the She-Ra and Princess of Power.
Yes.
So my love of significant conversation and superpower women combined to now be a success coach for women in business.
And it all starts somewhere. See, look.
Right?
And I've never heard that story from you, and I've heard a lot of stories.
I know. That's right. I got a million great
I'm thinking Halloween costume, He-Man and She-Ra. I can just
Oh man. Hell yeah. I got
go there with it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see where like people start out in life in agriculture, and it was interesting. I got this picture in my mind, like the two guys from Ocean Spray with the cranberry bogs up to their up their waist, like, "Hi, I'm Heather. Let me help you grow." No, this just doesn't work for me. I couldn't see you doing that. So like you get into doing this, and how do you reach people like with your message? Are you working? Do you speak on stages? Like, what are you getting in connecting to these people that you really want to share your information with?
Yeah, probably my biggest source of contacts or connections for future clients is speaking activities. Now, whether that's, at a live event, whether it's a conference or an event I organize, or whether it's online, Facebook Lives, Instagram stories, for me, it's connecting with real people in whatever format or location I can do that. That's my magic sauce.
Cool. And you also have this thing you started, I saw, like this charcuterie board type stuff that you're.
Yeah.
What's it called? Meetup, MEAT, right?
Yeah. So to keep our Facebook Live episodes fun and fresh to our viewers, we have a really engaged and loyal following on Facebook. We've started to combine both my love of great conversation, real connection with people, with a second love, which is that of aged cheeses, salty meat, and basically everything that looks pretty but isn't good for you on a beautiful platter, charcuterie. So yeah, we have these meetup on Facebook Live every Fridays, meat being like the stuff you eat, for charcuterie and conversation. A huge hoot where you get to watch me like drink wine, eat cheese, and talk about all things business related.
So do things like that help you with the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur, where you get to like step outside of that work mode and get into more playful fun? Because I know doing work, a lot of times we can get sucked into that hole, and when it's difficult and dark to get out, and we wonder, is there anyone still here? Because I've been looking down so much. So like being the best version of yourself, what are the things that you're adding into your life to make sure you create the recovery just as important as the output?
Yeah, great question. And it's so true. Like, Frank, we have to freaking we have to keep business fun. Otherwise, we're sunk. And I gotta I gotta give credit where credit is due for both you and Megan. You continue to keep on my horizon, or keep on my radar, the importance of bringing myself into the business and finding ways to make it fresh and fun. And the crazy but crazy great thing is that the more I do that, the more successful my business is, right? It's like the whole, what is it? The blue ocean strategy, right? Nobody can compete with you and your unique constellation of likes and dislikes, quirks, and so the more I gain the courage and the success to continue to do that, make it fun, and inject my own personal interests and personality into whatever I'm doing and delivering, the better it becomes, both for me and my clients.
So what is success then to you?
Oh,
like, what is that? Like the ultimate success is what right now?
The ultimate success for Heather right now is, yes, eating cheese and meat and wine while doing business. Okay, kidding, but not kidding. The ultimate success for me, okay, if you would have asked me this question, this is very interesting. If you'd have asked me this even a year and a half ago, it would have been all about the figures, right? The number of clients, the digits in my bank account. And a year and a half later, I think I've gone through pretty rapid transformation in the last year and a half. And that success definition has not completely gone away. And the numbers are still important. But for me, what's of primary importance now is the experience I'm having in business, is making sure that I am healthy, that I'm engaged, that I I'm not getting burnt out, that I am enjoying what I'm doing during my days, and I'm lit up about the women that I'm working with. The more I am present to that experience and curating that experience very carefully, the more successful I am. And I know that the numbers will take care of themselves.
So, I mean, that is a huge shift, but in such a way, so much bigger and deeper and better for not only you, but your community. So how does that help you out, that community piece where you're around like-minded people or people that you're around that you're going to learn from? Like, how important is that now to your development of who you are?
Yeah, it's hugely important. And there's two big reasons why. So part of my story, or part of what I would call like I talk about with a lot of my clients, core stories, or I'm losing the term right now. But there are certain lessons that I think every individual, every business owner or business leader has. And there are certain lessons or wounding or behaviors that we continue to see throughout our lives, right? It shows up in our personal lives, shows up on our business. And when we know what those core stories are, and we attend to them and heal through them and evolve beyond them, the better we are. So one of mine is being alone, is being, that little kid that grew up on the end of a dead end dirt road, right? As a child. It's being, for many years, a solopreneur that, the only help I had was the moral support from my dog sleeping beside the desk. And even more recently, having a painfully small team and being alone and trying to do too much of it by myself and thinking it was all up to me. So community is hugely important to me, not only personally and in my business, but it's something that I get to create for my clients, because I know that there are a million other female business leaders out there feeling just as lonely, just as unsupported. And it's in fact the inspiration for one of my main programs, which is the Unshakable Business Leader, right? It's a 9-month private mentorship and masterminding community. And it is the solution to what I see for women in business right now is a borderline epidemic, which is the lonely leader syndrome. Women feeling like that it's all up to them. Nobody understands what they're going through, and if they're going to make it, it's all on their shoulders, and it's an epidemic that is crushing so many business dreams.
Why do you think that is? I've known that the lonely leader syndrome has been a body of your work for a while.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why you attract the women that you attract is because they feel so isolated in their businesses. They've kind of found their way to a certain level of success. And like, how does the saying go? Like, it's lonelier at the top.
Lonely
like,
at the top, right?
Yeah. Fewer people go that extra mile. Why do you think that is? Especially for women, like from your perspective and your observation, and you've talked to probably hundreds of women at this point, maybe even thousands, who they may not have labeled it lonely leader syndrome, but they're lonely and they feel that way. Why do you think we even get to that place?
Well, there's 5 reasons why women naturally but unintentionally isolate as they are evolving and increasing in their level of success or visibility or authority in their business. The first one is that we want to be authentic, right? We don't want to ever have anyone, social media or offline, saying, oh, you're just a fraud, or you got that idea from somebody else. We don't want to copycat. So I see a lot of women almost intentionally putting the blinders on, where they're not looking too much at their competitor or what anybody else is doing, because for fear that they'll pick up someone else's idea and they'll be blamed of plagiarizing. So there's one reason. We want to be authentic. The second reason is that we want to protect the people closest to us. And anybody who's in a leadership position, there's peaks and valleys, there's wins and challenges. And sometimes the people closest to us, they're invested in our success. And when they see the wheels coming off the rails, they get panicked. And so not only do you have to attend to your own emotional turmoil, but then you have to deal with their emotional fallout. And so we isolate from the people closest to us out of a desire to protect their feelings and put on the happy face. There's other reasons, like we want to We want to manage our brand, right? For a lot of women in leadership positions, it's lonely from a gender perspective, right? They're in male dominated traditional businesses. And so there's a culture of not showing any weakness, especially if that weakness is loneliness. And they're applauded for being the lone wolf. And so they think they need to keep up this masculine approach to business to be successful, which means I'm not going to admit I need help. I'm not going to admit I'm lonely, which further serves to isolate. So those are just three of several, I think, natural but unintentional reasons why women isolate. And when you get 2 or 3 of these things lining up, holy shit, it gets to be a pretty quiet, pretty lonely place. And that's where careers and businesses start to stall and burn out.
Have you ever found from any of your clients, one-on-one or in your masterminds and your group programs, that women who, again, they've reached a certain level of success, have you ever found that they also don't like to be vulnerable in front of other people, in front of groups of people, because everybody kind of sees them as like the rock star, they have it all together, they're perfect, they can do no wrong, they figured it all out, when behind the scenes, look, I don't care how much I don't care how much money any of us are making or how much success any of us have created. There are things going on in all of our lives, whether it's in relationship or it's health or it's with the kids or it's with team members or it's financial or it's something. But have you found that to be true? They don't really like to just talk about all the things that aren't going well.
Yeah. And look, there's shit being thrown at everybody in everybody's business. I don't care how many figures there are in your bank account or how many, fabulous team members you have. There's poop that's always going to hit the fan. We can't control it all. But what I will say is that as you rise up the ranks, become more visible, right? You have, bigger teams, bigger audiences. You are wise to manage who you share when the poop hits the fan, right? Your clients, your team members don't need to know the nitty-gritty details, but it becomes even more important at higher levels of success that you do have that, what I call a very confidential and like-minded group of sisters that got your back. And whether it's, a group of men and women, or whether it's just a group of female business leaders, you got to know that there are people that when you want to crawl in bed with a box of Kleenex, that there's somebody there that gets it and isn't going to judge you for it.
Kleenex and Oreos and ice cream and
box of wine, whatever it takes.
Hey, just because you have a shelf made for your box of wine doesn't mean you have a problem. It's okay. Who needs a TV? We got a box of wine in the bedroom. Don't worry about it. We're good.
I love it. Okay, you're going to love this. Totally off topic, but I saw on Pinterest the other day, somebody had duct taped backpack straps to a box of wine and then stuck a little stem of to-go cups on the side. It was like a little traveling bar.
Oh my goodness.
But here's the thing. When you step outside and get a little crazy, it creates attention. And I think the seriousness of business, there is no seriousness in anything. It's what we decide to put into it. It seems like what you're talking about, being better who you are, you're having more fun with it and you're enjoying it instead of beating yourselves up, over the things you can't do, but you're actually looking at all the things you are doing and having a much greater time doing those things, and also being selective on who you give your time to, because as any entrepreneur, we don't get busy. We just get a lot of things going on. It's the way in which we start looking at something, then it becomes busy. Busy is lack of a system to control the outcome. I've worked with tons of people. When they're highly successful, they'll make time for people if you're not wasting it.
Yes.
So I think that is like, people have to realize we don't give information away for free all the time. There is a reason we're doing this, because we love helping people, but at the same time, we also want to make an income. So how do you go about explaining to people, like, they want to invest working with you, that it is not just an investment of money, but you're investing your time, because when you put your time, your effort, your energy, your money all together, you can get such a bigger impact, not only on yourself, but your business. And again, people sometimes hesitate to buy into a program with someone because they want a defined, definite outcome. And the reality of it is there is no defined in anything. So how do you go about explaining when someone works with you that they're going to get a certain result, like what is the result you want to get these entrepreneurs to?
Yeah, that's a complicated question. So I'm gonna, what comes to mind is that it mirrors so much of my own journey that at some point in business, we think it's just about the numbers, but then at a later stage of business, you actually realize that it's not just about the numbers. It's about the ease and the impact, yes, and the income that you're having.
Right.
And you can't have income without some form of ease, right? You've got to have the systems, the structures, the team members, and you can't have impact without all of those things. So how would I answer that question? I've even forgotten the question.
Yeah.
You got to ask it in a much shorter version.
It's like someone comes to you and they're like, I'm going to spend all this money to work.
Yeah.
What do you guarantee? And that's the thing I think my thing is, what are you going to put into it? If you put this in, I can guarantee certain, but I don't know what you're going to do on your end. I know that if you go all in, that there's amazing things that are possible. Yes. But if you're hesitating in the beginning, I can't guarantee anything.
Yeah. What comes up for me is, there's no guarantees, right? In education, in coaching and personal development, hell, even in like fitness and nutritional development, there are no freaking guarantees. The only guarantee is that as a coach, I commit to my clients. We have contracts that state this explicitly, is that I will care at least as much as you do about your success, right? If you bring the energy and you bring the focus, well, I'm going to match that. But I can't care more about your success and your results than you do. So yes, there's a financial commitment, but that's simply just symbolic of the energetic commitment and the time commitment that also has to be there for them to create the results they say they want. I'd love to have a magic wand. I'd probably be a lot more richer. But I would miss out on all the meaty conversations that I love having. Actually, side story.
Wait, hold on. Side story. Go ahead.
You got hold on.
Yep.
This just happened today. I was talking to a client and she had this major aha, right? I stumbled into the right question to ask her at the right time, and she just had this major light bulb moment. She said to me, she says, "Heather, that's gold." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's gold." Like it wasn't a fun realization, but it was an awareness that will change the way she operates forever. And she said, "Oh, you love digging in the gray zones. You like asking the tough questions. It's gold." She says, "You're a gold digger." And I'm like, "Yes, I am."
Yes.
In a different kind of sense. I'm the one mining it, not the one just picking it up.
That's right. I'm in there helping you uncover it, but it's yours to have, baby.
Have you ever had a client come back, or like any time while they're working with you, and question you or be like dissatisfied or angry because they didn't get a certain end result or something that was tangible? Have you ever experienced that?
Oh, yeah. I actually have a doozy of a story there that I've actually never shared.
Ooh, we're getting the first exclusive here.
Debut of the story.
Oh.
All names are changed to protect the innocent. Okay, go ahead.
We only ask these questions to help the listeners because people go through this.
Yeah. So there was an individual that I worked with, and at the time, a big piece of my business was doing one-day intensives with clients. So they would take some time off work. We would roll up our sleeves, meet in person, and we would, do everything we could to get them beyond certain blocks that were happening in their career or their business. And I remember this one individual, she was very resistant to investing in herself at that level. Mm-hmm. But I had known her, she'd been in my business community for a couple of years. We had some mutual acquaintances, and I could see the potential for her. And I could see very clearly, what the mindset blocks were from her moving forward in the direction that she needed or wanted to go. And so there's a saying, right? If you drag him in, you're going to drag him around. And that's what this experience taught me, is that we had 3 or 4 different conversations, right? Sales/discovery conversations, bringing her to the point where she was like, "Yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take money out of my savings because this is important to me." We had our intensive, and it was a struggle because she was just very, very fearful, a very fearful individual. To her credit, though, she wanted to move forward. And unfortunately, about a month after our intensive, she kind of gave up on the plan and the dreams and the work that we had done together. And it was about 90 days later, she wrote me an email and expressing her displeasure for her lack of results, the fact that I was unable to provide a solution for her, and that she hadn't changed her circumstances. And unfortunately, she was so, I think, discouraged and frustrated that she was not very nice. And she started telling me, who was I to ask for this kind of money out of her? And she took money out of her savings, and this amount of money that she invested in coaching with me is the same amount of money that you could spend on a life-saving MRI, and somebody in her family had just needed to have one, and she didn't have the money to support them to do that, and it was my fault that she'd spent it on coaching that hadn't worked for her. Yeah, not a fun experience.
That was 90 days later.
90 days later. Here's the thing. If I'm completely honest, I knew it was an uphill battle because it took her so long she didn't believe in herself. She didn't believe in the coaching, and she was hoping and praying that investing in me would be the magic wand.
Instead of investing in herself.
Yeah, and doing the work. And, in my part, I know now what to look for. If I could go back again, I wouldn't take her on as a client, because I know now the level of resistance was something greater than I think many other coaches couldn't have overcome or helped her overcome.
And that's an interesting thing you brought up, because there are professionals who specifically work with people's insecurities. They're not coaches.
Yeah.
They're sometimes therapists. They do deeper work. There is a necessity for like, hey, this isn't a business thing we're talking about. This is more of a personal issue with yourself that if you really want to move forward in your business, you may want to take care of, because otherwise, like you saw, it was an uphill battle.
Yeah.
And again, regardless of how much you pumped into her, if she was resistant to receive it, it was just going on deaf ears.
Yeah.
And that's the hard thing to see when you do see that potential in a person. And then you start to question yourself. You're like, wait a minute, did it? Like, damn it, why is someone making me feel this way about the work I know it's done exceptionally well for a lot of people? And again, there's always going to be one, and we've all had them. And it's not a fun thing, but it is a learning thing for us. And
totally.
We do realize that we're not here to save people. We're here to get them to a place that they want to be more efficiently and simpler than they would do it on their own.
Yeah, exactly. Like I have love for this woman now, because she taught me a painful lesson in who is my client and who is not. I wish her all the best, right? Yeah.
How do you, this is a question that comes up often with clients that we worked with, maybe you too, Heather, but how do you stay unattached from feeling the personal responsibility and taking on the personal responsibility for your clients to get a result? I think we see that a lot, probably in all of our clients, not every single one of them, but oftentimes there are clients who are like, they feel so bad, like it's their fault if their clients aren't getting a result, and that can take you out of the game.
Yes.
So how do you stay unattached from it being your personal responsibility to get their results for them?
Yeah. I think there's a strategy I use when a client, it's easy to coach when people are like, knocking it out of the park and results are coming in and it's woo, jazz hands. But when it's not that way, and sometimes it has to not be that way for a client's commitment to kind of double down. I often will ask myself in those dark times, like, what am I responsible for and what is not my responsibility? And I know now, only from the privilege of having been a coach for 12 years, that I know there are certain structures and systems, habits and behaviors that I know work for the majority of the population from my ideal client. So I have that confidence of knowing that it's worked for this number of people in these different industries. But I also know that there is nothing that I can do that will replace the commitment and focus of a client's effort. So if they're not doing their homework, if they're not showing up, or they're showing up late, or they're making excuses, like they've got to hold up their end of the bargain. And so, learning the hard way. I have a very clear contract for our coaching agreements, so that clearly states what I'm responsible for and what the client's responsible for, so that we clarify those expectations right up front. And I find that that solves a lot of things from being derailed. And when challenges come up, I'm like, hey, remember we talked about this. This is that moment. Like, are we both doing what we're responsible for here?
Great info on that. I mean, that's what the interesting thing about being a go-to person that solves everyone's problems. That's not what we do.
Yeah, no. I'm a guide. I'm pointing the way. I'll give you tools that I know will work, but you got to apply them.
And it's great watching people become successful going through the program. And it does give you that aha, why I'm doing this type of thing and how many more people. And so what do you have coming up that people may be interested in hearing about, where they can get a taste or a feel of what you do coaching wise?
Yes, love it. So right now we're going to be offering the next intake of what's called my Success Incubator program. So it is the perfect way for an entrepreneur that's 3 to 5 years into her business, or a corporate leader that's new to her role, that wants to develop the leadership abilities, the mindset, some of the time management structures to help them succeed at that new level, whether it's as a corporate leader or whether it's leading their own business, brick and mortar. That's going to start later on this summer. We had an intake earlier this summer, and those ladies are just finishing up. We offer that program. It's a 90-day program, and we offer it usually 3 times a year. So that's a fit for anyone that's in the earlier stages of their leadership career, 3 to 5 years in. Obviously, then the next exciting wave of onboarding for clients is I have my favorite live event. It's called Difference Maker Live. We hold that every year, the end of November, at a luxurious location. And it's an opportunity to come, be in the room, be in community with me and other women that are past, present, and future clients to, as we said, to start to solve and heal some of that lonely leader syndrome and get fueled up with planning what is the next wave of their evolution and success in their business.
Cool.
How can people find out about that?
Yes, how do you find out?
Okay, the best place to go is simply my website, heatherpetherickcoaching.com. heatherpetherickcoaching.com. I'm sure we can put the link in.
Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes for sure.
Definitely.
And you have a really cool Facebook group as well.
I do have a very cool Facebook group. So my Facebook group, it is private, so not just anybody can get in there. So we really vet that carefully for other like-minded, high-caliber, naturally intelligent women that are going big places. It's the Facebook group for female business leaders of style, wit, and substance, because that's really part of my brand. We're approaching 1,000 members here, and we just have a really high engaged community of leaders from all over the world in all industries. And we talk about leadership, mindset, sales, and a little bit of style. And of course, Friday meetups.
I was going to say, that's why if people want to engage in your Friday evening charcuterie and wine, they need to join the Facebook group.
So wait a minute, you're almost to hit 1,000. What are you going to give that 1,000 person that joined the group?
Oh, Shawn, you know what I'm going to give them. I'm going to give them the most luxurious prize pack of charcuterie and a FedEx shipped bottle of champagne for our 1,000th member.
So everyone listening, get on that, because if you're number 1,000, you're getting a special gift. Yeah. I like that.
A massive gift of all things cheese, salty meat, and delicious bubbly things to drink.
Yes, I keep double dog daring Heather to start a second business where she puts together charcuterie boards that are the size of a table for parties.
Wait. I think the live event may have.
Oh, yes, it does.
It may have.
Yeah.
So
are in the work.
It's interesting when we all reminisce about what we've done and what we're doing, and it's so cool to watch the progression of you and all the people we've worked with, and just, we're there for the good times, we're there for the bad times, because as an entrepreneur, there are ups and downs, not just in business, but in life. And when you have a community that can support each other, it makes it just a little bit better on those in every way. So Heather's been in our programs for how many years now? Two now?
Wow.
About 2.
Or 2, yeah.
Yeah.
So with that program, what did you think it was going to be like? And then all the women who showed up, like, it is interesting how things happen for reasons. What did you think it was going to be like to what it really is become for you?
Oh, what did I think it was going to be like? Well, I thought it was going to be awesome because it was Megan, of course.
Oh, there you go.
And then she brought on board this arm candy called Shawn. What did I think it was going to be like? You know what? And I think this is true of some of our most important decisions in life. Sometimes we don't know what to expect. We just know we need to do it. And I was definitely attracted to Megan because you are a yin to a lot of yang in my business. I'm all about jazz hands and connecting with people and dealing in the gray zone. And you are excellent at lining things up in terms of business and structure and process. And I needed that to help sort of corral what I was doing. And the fact that, Shawn, you've come in with, this expertise in health and nutrition and really looking after me, because I tend to, well, let's be honest, my diet consists of cheese and champagne and wine. So I do need, that health sort of watchdog supporting me. So I can't say that I knew that I needed to grow, and I knew that I needed strong individuals that could support that growth, but had the maturity that could take all of this and help me line it up in formation to create a business that didn't just make money, but gave me the experience for me and my family and my clients that I want to have out of this life. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome. I like the answers. So thank you for being here and being on our podcast, The Best Version of You. We are watching you become the best version of yourself, which is an amazing journey to watch you unfold. And again, remember, guys, Heather just didn't do this by sitting at home. She had to move across the country, relocate her entire life. Like, life happens, and that's where you really need to realize that it comes down to how you're going to establish yourself as a person and how that's going to affect your business. So I applaud you for that, because you're not just doing it from one area. You've made some major shifts, and those definitely are paying off in all kinds of positive ways for you and your family. So thank you for being here with us on this podcast. And we are so looking forward to watching you grow. Any last things, Megan?
No. Peace out. Episode 41. Heather Petherick in the house.
Thank you.
41.
We will see you soon.
Awesome. Love you guys. Take care.